And then there we go. And then you will be ready to start. Okay. Janet, it's all yours.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Mute. Welcome everyone to the last in a series of 4 Q&A webinars with NACADA leaders. My name is Janet Spence and I'm the Executive Director of Undergraduate Advising Practice at the University of Louisville. I've been a NACADA member for 25 years and I've held several leadership positions. Currently I'm on the board of directors, enjoying that role. And I hope that my history with NACADA speaks to my passion about my involvement with the association. We are very excited to welcome those of you who are new to the association and welcome back those who are joining us as continuing members. You may recall that in the winter issue of Academic Advising Today, current NACADA President David Spite challenged membership to get engaged and outlined 4 suggestions to do just that, as you can see on this slide. The board of directors took on this challenge and developed 4 Q&A webinars featuring NACADA leaders and offered suggestions to get engaged based on David's themes. Today's webinar is about becoming engaged with the association. We hope that for those of you tuning in, you will experience the outcomes outlined on this slide. We want to have a dialogue with you. We want you to know how the panelists became involved with NACADA, learn about the different ways to become involved, and have an opportunity to ask questions. Today's webinar panelists represent leaders from the 3 NACADA divisions. They will discuss how being involved in NACADA leadership has enriched their professional development, and you are invited to ask questions by typing them in the Q&A section of this webinar. I'm happy to have today's panelists introduce themselves to you. Erin, would you start us off?
Absolutely. So I'm Erin Justina, and I am at Texas Tech University, and I'm representing the Commission and Interest Group Division today.
And I'm Rodney Mondor, and I am the Region Division, representing the Region Division and Council Rep.
And I'm Cecilia Olivares, and I'm representing the Administrative Division as the Emerging Leaders Program Advisory Board Chair.
Hello, and I'm Michelle Ware from the University of Notre Dame, also representing the Administrative Division.
Wonderful. Thank you, panelists. In getting our webinar started, I'm going to ask each panelist to describe their leadership role in NACADA and talk briefly about how they got involved in NACADA. Erin, will you start us off, please?
Yes, thanks, Janet. So my current role, like I said, is the elected Commission and Interest Group Division representative. So I work with appointed Rep. Karen Ashenbo and EO liaison Elisa Schaefer to support the work of all the 44 Commission and Interest Groups in NACADA. So what I love most about this role is I get to interact with a huge network of professionals in all these different interest areas, and it also gives me an opportunity to contribute directly to the profession. My NACADA leadership journey actually began in 2005, where I heard about it from a colleague, I believe, don't even remember that far back, and began by just going to the conference. So attended the national conference, and from there I just jumped right in. So during registration, you're able to choose interest groups and commissions that you're interested in and check the little boxes. One of those boxes I checked was Advising Students with Disabilities Commission. So at that conference, I stumbled into the commission meeting and just started listening to the kind of work that was going on in that commission, and I got involved right away. So volunteered to do probably every task they had on this sheet, just because I was so excited to be at the conference. By 2006, I was moderating sessions, reading conference proposals, and working on various commission-related projects, such as updating the website or the clearinghouse articles. In 2007, I began serving on the steering committee for that same commission, and began presenting at both regional and national conferences. In that same year, I ran for commission chair for the 2008 through 2010 term, and I lost. But never to be deterred, I stayed active in the commission, and 2 years later, I was elected as the chair for the Advising Students with Disabilities Commission. Following that, directly, I was appointed to that CIGD steering committee for 2012-2014. In 2014, I ran for the appointed CIGD rep position, but was not selected at that time. So hopefully you'll see a theme here that if you aren't successful right away in what you want to do, just to keep showing up, eventually they'll put you to work. In 2015, I was elected to the council as the CIGD rep. Beyond that, what seems like a very linear trajectory all within CIGD, I did get involved with writing articles and book reviews for the Academic Advising Today, reviewing for that same publication. I've been involved in Diversity Committee, the Professional Development Committee, the Emerging Leaders Program, the Consultant Speaker Advisory Board, and the Administrators Institute Advisory Board. So again, kind of once you get started, you just start on this path and keep moving towards things that you want to be involved with.
Great, thank you, Erin. Rodney, will you be next?
Sure, thank you, Janet. So, just like Erin, it's been an incredible 11 plus years, actually 12 years, as a member and a leader of NACADA. Currently, I am the Region Division representative and the member of the council. And of course, these titles might not make a lot of sense right now, but I encourage you to take a moment to explore the NACADA website, review the organizational structure, and to gain a better understanding of how NACADA operates and the number of people that are involved in making NACADA a top-notch international organization. My involvement with NACADA started back in Vegas in 2005 when I attended my first annual conference. I met Charlie Nutt. Immediately I realized this was my organization and I wanted to get involved. Being at the right place at the right time was also helpful. I was able to start NACADA with my first experience on the membership committee, representing Region 1 members. Getting to meet so many people around my region and around the country was overwhelming, but also inspiring. So don't let that scare you. It allowed me a chance to see advising as a much bigger picture. Even after 10 years, I still continue to learn. I'm inspired by all the professionals in the field. After the membership committee, my journey expanded to the regional, national, and even international level. At the regional level, I worked with the conference committee as the volunteer chair and the co-creator and coordinator of our graduate student network dinner, which was pretty a good way to segue into how, if you have a good idea, make it happen. That's one of the things that's great about NACADA. So the graduate student network dinner was created by myself and Michael Pretzman from SUNY Adirondack when we were watching graduate students that were not coming out because of the cost of meals, and probably missing out on some great networking opportunities and food, of course. So we found professionals willing to pay for dinner for the graduate students and match them one-to-one, and with all the graduate students at the conference. So we had 5 grads that year and 5 professionals, and we were sitting together at a local restaurant and for dinner and networking. It was great, and now it's been 8 years, and the region has included this event as part of its budget line, so all participants do not have to worry about paying. Last year, we hosted 18 graduate students with 12 professionals, so it definitely has grown as a great networking opportunity. And NACADA has not only inspired me, as I said earlier, but it's helped me develop, grow, etc., professionally and personally. And over the course of my journey with NACADA, I've been able to get connected at the region and national level through conference planning and presenting. The Emerging Leaders Program has also helped me connect with other leaders of NACADA. The first time I applied, I did not get accepted. I applied again the following year and I got in. And these opportunities have just opened a lot of doors for me. And with the Emerging Leaders, I was then able to then apply and be selected as a consultant and speaker services rep. So I'm very excited about that, to be able to represent NACADA and all of its members. My first elected position was the Region 1 chair, which I started my journey to one day sit on the board, and I'm trying to make my way up that way, which brings me to my appointed position as the Region Division rep and counsel. There you go.
Great, thanks, Rodney. Cecilia, please tell us about your NACADA role and how you became involved.
All right. Well, I started in NACADA by attending the regional annual conferences in 2008. I was there to attend and listen to presentations, but really didn't know how to get involved within the association. While I was at the annual conference there in Chicago, I heard about the Emerging Leaders Program and decided I would go ahead and put my application in because I felt like it was a mutually beneficial opportunity in terms of what I was looking at getting from the association and also what the association was looking at doing in terms of diversifying leadership. So I went ahead and did that. Around the same time, I was asked to serve on the Region 5 Conference Planning Committee. That conference was being held in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, which is where I was living and working at the time. So it was a great way for me to start to get very involved within Region 5 with that particular conference opportunity. From there, I feel like my leadership has evolved pretty quickly and naturally. Making those connections and networking within the region and then also being involved in the Emerging Leaders Program has resulted in me being a part of the advisory board for the Emerging Leaders Program pretty much since I started in that program in 2009. I've also been involved in the Diversity Committee, the 2-year Commission Service Awards Committee, the Region 3 Awards Selection Committee, and I've also, assisted with the best practices selection for the Academic Advising Administration monograph. So there are some other behind the scenes opportunities that aren't always up front and on the face of NACADA. Things like the selecting awards and best practices are things that happen behind the scenes, and you'll see them put out in monographs and awarded to others, but there are many people who are involved in those processes. So leadership looks like a lot of different things in NACADA. Most recently, I was appointed as the Emerging Leaders Program Advisory Board Chair for 2014 to 2016. I will be coming off of that role, and I have been elected to be the administrative division rep starting in October with the annual conference, where I will be working with the chairs of the advisory boards and committees within NACADA.
Great. Thanks, Cecilia. And Michelle?
Yes, so my current position that I will be entering following the 2016 annual conference will be the chair of the NCAA Advisory Board. And so my NACADA journey started also at the 2008 Chicago annual conference. And I have to admit, I was overwhelmed at that first conference, and surprising, I didn't run into Cecilia at that time, but after that conference, I felt that I wanted to give to the organization, so I said, how can I do that? I was interested in presenting, so I thought that the best way would be to start by reading proposals, and that's what I did. I read proposals for the regional conference and annual conference for about 4 years, specifically for the Advising Student Athletes Commission and Advising High Achieving Students Commission. And so in 2009, life, happened, started a family, continued to stay involved in NACADA, but took more of a backseat role. And 2013 was at another point in my career where I wanted to go full force into giving all I could to the association. And so I found a mentor that helped me really structure how I could give the most in the association, also professionally, asked me or challenged me to pursue other avenues that bettered my participation in the association. I have since joined the Diversity Committee. I started participating on the NCAA Advisory Board, which has then snowballed into my current position, as I mentioned, incoming chair for the NCAA Advisory Board.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Panelists, please give a brief description of the purpose of the division you represent, and it may be helpful to our audience to hear some brief examples about how a NACADA member can become involved in your division. Rodney, will you start us off, please?
Sure thing. So in the regional division, so we break up in regions, the NACADA community is segmented into 10 regions, North America, and then the international community. As you can see from the map, each region has a region chair, which is a voted member, who represents all the schools within the states of their region. The region division, with the support of the 10 chairs, supports all 10 chairs to try to move their region forward by setting annual goals, hosting regional conferences, state drive-ins, just outreaching as much as possible to help its members. So the region level is an excellent way to connect as a volunteer and as a future leader. Opportunities include sitting on the region steering committee, which oversees the activity of the region. So they have a governing body to help make sure they're moving through with the goals, and you can get involved that way. Sitting on the conference committee, which plans the regional conferences, usually held in the springtime, the spring semester, or volunteering for any of the various subcommittees for the above committees. So they have your main committees and then a number of subcommittees, communication, writing in the newsletter, doing social media, working and posting something for your region for the journal, so there's a lot of opportunity that way. If finance is something you're strong in, working with the region chair and the conference chair, planning the budget and making sure we stay on budget. Actually, that's a huge part, and as a region chair, the budget finance chair was very instrumental in helping keep us on track, so that's a great role. Volunteer management in those areas, recruiting volunteers for conferences, for state drive-ins, also for other committees, working with the chairs. If you got that go get them attitude, get out there and recruit volunteers from across your region is really key. The awards selection committee is actually, it's a great way to start. You read all the nominations for the region and national awards and scholarships. What's great about that is that a lot of times you can do that online. Some of the regions, if they can, they like to meet in person, but they can do it online. It's just a great way to learn about what other institutions and other people are doing across your region, and being part of recognizing that through the awards and scholarship. And depending on your region, you might have just all kinds of opportunities out there. So some of the regions do have some different positions, and you want to check their website and see what is available for you. And if you're not sure, just ask. Ask one of us, ask your region chair. Each region has state liaisons. You have a chance to volunteer as a state liaison to be that point person. And you just have to go online, find that person, and say, I want to get connected. And I tell you, if you do that and follow through, we'll find something for you.
Great, Rodney. Thank you. Erin, will you talk about the CIG division?
Yes, of course. So the Commission and Interest Group Division is basically there to represent members with different areas of interest related to advising. Like I said, there's 44 different areas. You can view them on the web page. The main difference between commission and interest groups is that commissions are kind of charged with advancing NACADA's goals through proposing and facilitating activities, providing resources for the professional development of members of that specific commission. Whereas interest groups bring people together to focus on a very particular interest that's not related to a commission, but it's more informal. It's more about gathering together, having conversations, and doing work in a more casual manner. I think the CIGD is perhaps one of the most common access points for members, just because it's kind of on the membership form, so you kind of sometimes fall into it pretty easily. And there's just a multitude of ways to get involved with the division. Right away, I would suggest that you join the CIG's Commission and Interest Groups and then their corresponding listserv. So there's two different methods of communication that happen. There are emails that go out commission-wide, but there's also just the listserv. So maybe you joined your 4 commission and interest groups, but you still have another area that you are interested in. You can actually still join that that listserv online without being a member, and that keeps you kind of in the conversations related to those areas. Another great thing to do is if you get a chance to go to annual conference is to absolutely look up those times and attend those commission and interest group meetings. They'll be talking about things that have been going on, the goals that they want to see happen in the next year, and you get to give your input to all of that, but you also typically have a chance right then and there to tell them exactly how you think you might want to be involved. So many chairs will send out a list and it'll have, what are your strengths? What are you interested in? Is it writing? Is it reading? Is it, technology, whatever it is, and you'll get a chance to kind of decide for yourself what kind of commitment you can give. So like I said, so many different ways to volunteer, whether that's, like we've mentioned, reading conference proposals is a really great way to get involved, I think. Working on special projects for the commission and interest groups. A lot of people need web help, keeping Facebook groups going, things like that. You can present, obviously, on commission and interest group related topics at every level, state, regional, annual, international. Writing a commission and interest group related article for the Academic Advising Today or the Journal, or even, you know, if you're a better writer than me, perhaps author a chapter in the NACADA monographs that it's related to your commission interests. And then there's always, you know, research that can be done related to your topics areas. And obviously we want you to run for positions, but like Rodney said, that doesn't have to be the chair position right at first. You know, each commission and interest group has a steering committee, and that's a great way to be in a leadership role where you're not the be-all end-all to file a report or anything like that, but you're still getting to do the great works of the commission. And again, underneath that, without any title, just a commission volunteer, that's the people that really kind of run the organization as far as I've seen in my work. So while not everyone's leadership path is as linear as mine, I think the CIGD is a very easy place to have like a powerful trajectory into various leadership roles based on whatever your interest areas may be.
Great information, Erin. Thank you. Cecilia, what about the administrative division?
All right. The Administrative Division represents the administrative services of NACADA, specifically the 8 committees and 10 advisory boards that have been established by the Board of Directors. We work with Maxine Kofi and Jennifer Jocelyn from the Executive Office on relevant issues that need attention or discussion and facilitate regular meetings throughout the year, as well as during the annual conference. Just to do a quick rundown of the committees and advisory boards, the committees include awards, diversity, finance, global initiatives, membership, professional development, research, and sustainable NACADA leadership. The advisory boards include programmatic offerings within the association, like the academic advising, consulting, and speaker services, the annual conference itself, the Emerging Leaders Program, the 3 different institutes, which are the Administrators Institute, the Assessment Institute, and Summer Institute, as well as webinars like these. It also includes the professional development opportunities through the Publications Advisory Board and the NCAA Advisory Board, and the association-wide technology development through the Technology Advisory Board. Interested members can contact the chair of the specific advisory board or committee that they're interested in getting involved with to learn about the specific opportunities of how you can get involved. And as Erin noted earlier, members are always welcome to attend our meetings at the annual conference. Every meeting is open during the annual conference. So if you're there and in attendance, we certainly would love to have you pop in and learn more about what we're doing in person. But certainly an email to one of the advisory board or committee member, committee chairs will also get you kick-started so you can learn a little bit more about how those work. And the contact information and names for each of those people is on the website.
Great, Cecilia, thank you. Michelle, will you lead us in a discussion about other ways to become involved?
Yes, I can do that. So I want to just summarize some of the ways that you can become involved in NACADA. So as you've heard today, there are many ways to become involved in NACADA. So you may want to begin, as has been mentioned, starting with the NACADA website. There's a lot of resources there to help you identify areas that match your strengths, your interests, your professional development goals. So that may be a good place to start. Next, you may want to, as Erin mentioned, contact the commission or interest group chair and maybe get on their listserv that way. And that information, again, is on the website. If you need to stay closer to home, you may want to be involved with your region or specifically your state liaison. So you can definitely get involved closer to home if that's what you want to do, or join a region committee as well. Volunteering at a regional conference, if you're able to attend, is great. There's so many opportunities to volunteer, from assisting with registration, collecting conference evaluations, hospitality. So there's numerous ways you can get involved at the conference. as many of us have done, you may want to start by reading proposals. So as the list of committees and interest groups that were listed, there are also proposals for those tracks that you can begin reading if there's an area that interests you. You can also present your research or campus initiatives through being a presenter at a conference as well. NACADA also has several publications that a few of them have been mentioned, but academic advising today, the NACADA Journal, NACADA monographs may be ways that you contribute to the association. Another opportunity would be book reviews. NACADA also has book reviews that if you're interested in doing that, that's also a way that you can get involved. We've suggested several ways to become and hopefully stay involved in NACADA. And even if one of those opportunities does not work out, there are plenty of other ways that you can contribute to the association. Keep in mind that each one of these volunteer opportunities comes with different levels of commitment and time. So there's definitely probably something that fits your availability. So whether you would view yourself as extroverted or more introverted, whether your university or institution has limited funds for conferences or professional development, or if you're just starting in your career in advising, or whether you are established in your career, we hope that you take advantage of these opportunities within each of the divisions discussed today to begin your own NACADA leadership journey.
Great information, Michelle. Thank you. Audience, if you'd like to go ahead and type in any questions you may have using the Q&A feature on your screen, now would be a good time. The panelists are going to provide you with some more information, and afterwards we will start our Q&A segment of the webinar. Panelists, please briefly let our audience know how being involved in the association has enhanced your professional development. Michelle, then Cecilia.
So I would say tremendously. Definitely expanded my network of colleagues and practices that I've been exposed to. I enjoy going to regional conferences, going to annual conferences and learning about new ways to impact the students. And also meeting with colleagues and discussing professional development goals that may be similar or different from my own. And through this, my confidence has definitely increased. Through NACADA, that has helped me to step into leadership roles within my institution. That was a tremendous benefit, or has been, and probably will continue to be. Also, it encouraged me to be a scholar practitioner. Again, through NACADA and through the mentoring, I was encouraged to begin my PhD program, which is something that I've done, and hope through that I can continue to give back through the association, through my research and writings, but in a different way, but definitely stay involved.
As for me, NACADA has been a consistent presence and resource through multiple job changes in the past 8 years. I truly have hardly had to pick up the phone or send an email because my NACADA friends and colleagues have been there to share a name, a contact, or some contact information about someone who is in a specific institution or nearby one of the places that I have moved in the past couple of years, and also just being there for that personal and professional support through multiple lifestyle adjustments professionally and personally. It's also been a place for me to cultivate ideas and see them to fruition in a different venue. So for example, I worked with my Emerging Leaders Program mentor, Sandy Waters, who's also on the board of directors in NACADA, to coordinate multiple annual conference presentations with some rock star women in the association that were called Women Thriving, and we did multiple sessions of those over multiple years. And those are ideas that probably wouldn't have come to fruition if it hadn't been for the support and the connection with others within the association to put on something that was personally and professionally very rewarding, I think, not just for me, but for everyone else who is involved, panelists. and participants. NACADA's also helped me step outside of my comfort zone. I've never run for any type of office, and so when I put my name in for the admin division rep this past within this past year, that's been a big deal too, to really step outside of my comfort zone. And I don't think that's something that would have happened if I didn't have, again, the encouragement and support of the NACADA family. This is a big organization, it's a lot more accessible, and it's a lot smaller once you get involved. It's not quite as intimidating when you're walking into a conference venue and you see familiar faces. Truly, it's like a family reunion every conference that I attend. So for me, it's rewarding to see it come from where I was in 2008 in Chicago, when I had no idea how to get involved, to now being part of the NACADA Council and getting to welcome new leaders like yourselves into our association.
Great. Thanks, Michelle and Cecilia. Next, we'll move on to Erin and then Rodney.
Okay, so much of the things that Michelle and Cecilia have already said is true for me. I will say one difference between Cecilia and I've had very consistent jobs. So when I first got into NACADA, I had the same job for more than a decade. And then recently I've had the same job now for 3 years, which isn't that long. But anyway, I stay in jobs for a really long time. So NACADA has actually been a thing that's allowed me to have some special projects and use skill sets that maybe I don't get to in my everyday position, which has been really great. And it's been kind of the thing that challenges me to keep growing and learn more. Definitely given confidence, but also a very strong skill set, I think, to be an advising leader. It's given me a great deal of recognition at my own institution and across the country. NACADA is exceptional at recognizing the work of its members and its leaders. It's rare that you would do anything with NACADA that you're not going to end up with a thank you email or a letter to your supervisor telling them the cool thing you just did for the profession. So that's really pretty amazing. On my own campus, like I said, been able to be a leader here. I've been appointed to various task forces and committees around the issues of advising and retention, for instance, designed and delivered training to advisors and staff on campus. I got to be involved also in the renewal of our own institution's advising awards. So that's pretty powerful to see that reenacted on our campus. And then the leadership roles that I've been able to play have led me to be actively recruited for positions and special projects. So, the reason I have my current position now is because I was talking about my work in NACADA and somebody said, hey, you should apply for said job. So it really can be powerful in ways that you don't even know yet. And I would echo too what Cecilia said, that it may feel huge and overwhelming, but to just give you an example, when I first got involved, incoming rep Rebecca Kofer and myself just happened to go to Branson for a conference, and we signed up for a group dinner. And when we went down to go, there was just like 4 people, and I'm like, oh man, this could be awkward. I don't know. Should we still go? We were nervous. And we ended up at dinner with then President Jennifer Bloom and her mother, and it was the best dinner I've had in a really long time. And so at every level, the leadership is there to talk to any member and to get you involved. It's really not at all. I think some people, when they're looking at it, it's so big and it seems like the same people are being in leadership. It's really not that at all. It's just putting yourself out there, and they will definitely involve you at any and all levels that you want to be involved.
Rodney?
Sure. So I'll take ditto to everything that has been said, but taking it a step further, I think NACADA has helped me to see and realize that I'm not alone in what I do on campus. And there's some questions in regards to, making a difference. And I think being able to see similar issues around the country and around student needs, retention, and advising has been great. And then thanks to the clearinghouse, I feel that I'm able to access so much information about best practices in advising, and then use this information to inform the work that I do and the programs being developed on my campus. And so it's nice just kind of having access to that at any time to be able to do the work that I do. Probably one of the best aspects about being connected to NACADA is networking. Kind of an example is back in 2009, my department went through a major transition, and in the shuffle, I was the director of our advising center, and I was also the school certifying official for our veterans. And so this started on pretty much the first day of school, and I had 300 veterans that I needed to learn how to certify and process and do all of that. So I was jumping into a whole new world about the GI Bill process. The process was complicated. It was the beginning of Chapter 33 of post 9/11, so there was a lot of changes that were going on. I was drowning, and there was no one on my campus who could help. And so I turned to NACADA. I checked out the listservs list of commissions and interest groups, which we talked about earlier, and found the Advising Veterans, Military Students, and Family Members group. So I was like, well, who better than people who are in this group? So I emailed asking if anyone could assist me with tips, direction, and you name it. Just please, whatever you could give me for guidance. I need help. And that's really what I said. I need help. And within 15 minutes, Steve in Rhode Island called me, and he just started walking me through the initial steps. He was teaching me how to get into the system, how to work with the students, what were the hiccups. I mean, he was in it. He was in the advising center at his school, but also doing the veterans, and he was part of the group. He definitely was my angel, and he was a huge resource that I was able to call for the next year as I was transitioning a new person into this role and hired them. Which goes to show how NACADA is there for its professionals. It is an incredible network of people. You couldn't ask for a nicer group of people to work with, all across the country, all across the world, as a professional and a student. And so what's great about NACADA is literally all you have to do is ask, and there's someone there who's going to step up and connect with you and make you feel good and support you, and then probably be a lifetime friend. As being a member here for about 12 years, I couldn't ask for a better group of people to hang out with throughout the year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rodney. Well, thanks, panelists, for your candid responses. At this time, we're going to open the webinar to questions from our audience, and I see that some have come in already. The first one, Erin, will you take? It says, as a new member, what can I contribute to NACADA? How long should I wait?
Well, great. Like I said in my story, I don't think you should wait at all. So I think you can jump right in as soon as you're comfortable, whether that's from the moment you join the association or maybe after your first conference, something like that. But that's the best thing I think about the association is there's so many things to do that there's something for everyone to be involved with. And I think several people have said, but just go to the web, I think, and look around, look at the structure of NACADA, get familiar with what that looks like, who does what, and then look for opportunities that fit your strengths, interests, and as Michelle alluded to, your time. So maybe you have 5 minutes and maybe there's a project for that, or maybe you want to commit to something much larger. But at any rate, I just think you can get started right away.
Great. Okay, another question that came in. How time-consuming is NACADA involvement? Michelle, will you take that one?
Sure. So time consuming, I think I mentioned to keep in mind the level of commitment will vary. And so you might investigate, talk to, people that have done a job or position that you're interested in and ask them, just that, how time consuming is it? I would say, for an example, reading proposals you can do on your own time, fit it in, they give you a deadline, and then you can work that in. As far as chairing a board or being a division rep and things like that, that would take a little bit more time and organization on your part. So I think there's definitely opportunities across the board, depending on your availability, which could change, as your commitment interests change as well.
Okay. Next question. How do you get involved if you can't attend conferences? Cecilia, will you take that one, please?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, annual conference is the one that most people seem to want to get to, but in terms of travel, that can be pretty costly for you individually or for your institutions. So you can also look closer to home. Regionally, there are conferences. Oftentimes, states have drive-in conferences as well. And you can also take advantage of things like these webinars. These are a great way to bring NACADA to your campus, and you can look through the resources of the past webinars and take advantage of the ones that are coming up as well. We've mentioned multiple times the different publications that are available through NACADA, and so if you can get your hands on those, some of them are electronic resources and some of them are actually hard copy, but again, that's a great way to bring NACADA to you and maybe share an article or a series of articles that you find through the NACADA publications with other advisors or administrators on your campus. Trying to think of some other things. Even the involvement on listservs, and Erin mentioned that earlier as well. You can get on as many listservs as you want through NACADA, and it's a great way to engage with colleagues and not just to ask questions, but also to answer and share what you're doing on your campus. So there are certainly ways to bridge the geographic boundaries that sometimes thwart us in our involvement for professional development, but there are lots of opportunities to do so in NACADA.
Thanks. Rodney, will you take this next one? This person wants to know, when you volunteer, what type of support do you have in your role?
Oh, it's a great question, because it is a little daunting if you've learned about all of the opportunities that are out there. It's called the EO, or the Executive Office, and they are the angels that are at Kansas State who have just been fantastic, and everyone who's been in the positions that you will be taking have been supportive. But the Executive Office, they're solid. They have been so supportive in the leadership roles. When I became the chair of the membership committee and the transition of the outgoing chair, he had all intentions of being there, but his institution kind of pulled some things. And so I showed up at the annual conference coming in, and without having the outgoing chair to help me out, and immediately one of the executive officers just was there, sat with me, walked me through it, talked me through it, even with emails over the course of that first year while I was trying to figure out what I was doing. Again, feeling overwhelmed at that initial 2 months after. It was great because they're there by phone, they're there by email. I swear the executive office works 24/7 because anytime I send an email, I get a response. Jennifer probably is like savvy. She's probably is up 24/7 sending out responses. But it's great. They're there to help you. And over the course of the years, the executive office, working with the board and the council, have really created a strong transition process for all the leadership positions, so that way you know what you're getting into before you start and you've got the support throughout.
Great. Michelle, the next one is, I don't have a lot of time outside of work and family to get involved. How should I proceed? Actually, a couple people asked that question, so that must be a very important one.
Yes, I would, as I didn't mention, I feel like I'm wearing multiple hats most of the time. So I'm a full-time advisor. I co-direct a scholars program on my campus. I'm in my third year of a PhD program, and I have a daughter because my husband works out of town most of the year. And so it is hard sometimes to juggle all of those things, but it's definitely possible. And so suggestions would be that I've gotten over the years would be blocking off the time on your calendars when you can. Maybe some of your lunch hours you use doing, NACADA things, let's say every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. You can also align your interests with what you're doing in your current role. And so I'm interested in researching within a specific area with a specific population of students. And so I've matched my NACADA leadership roles with that, which I found very helpful. So there's ways to streamline your work with NACADA with your everyday regular obligations so that you do not have homework and that you do not bring it home after 5 o'clock or whenever you were to get off. So hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you. Rodney, this one wants to know, do I have to volunteer or can I be an active member?
Oh, that's another good question. We love these good questions. Yes, you can be just an active member, but in a way, that's volunteering because you just can't sit. I don't think that NACADA is really designed for you to, unless you hide in the corner, that you do get involved. But you can stay as an active member. You don't have to hold any role and have your name printed. Go to the conferences and get involved. But in any level of involvement, I think you just get back so much more from the association because you start to learn a little bit more than what's at the surface. In the previous slide, when I was giving my introduction, the picture I was with, that was actually my mentee, Chrissy Renfro from Wyoming. And she and I were met. We had a great relationship of a year of our mentoring. And when she came on, she was like, I'm married, I've got 2 kids, I've been in my job for a long time, I'm not looking to be on the board, I just kind of want to learn more what's going on. And in the course of that time, she started looking at ways of getting involved. And it was just, well, we'll do something very low key. And she reviewed a book. And then she reviewed one of the monographs because she really likes just reading. And now she got so much from that. Then it just like, now she got the bug. And she's more involved and she's been staying involved. And so it was nice because she just, we don't pressure. You can do as much as you want or as little as you want. But I think once you realize the more you get connected to NACADA, the more you're going to bring back to your institution.
Great, thank you. Cecilia, I think this next one would that you could answer this next one. It says, can you review the difference between a committee and an advisory group? How does this level of involvement differ?
Okay. I might have to get a little help from the EO on this one because I always mix these ones up. The advisory boards are representing programs that are sort of driven out of the executive office. And so kind of the ultimate responsibility goes back to whoever is the liaison for the executive office. The committee is kind of the reverse. Does that make sense? Am I answering that pretty well? EO, someone from the EO, give me a thumbs up.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. I should know this like by heart, but I also tend to flip them sometimes. Really the work between them or between advisory boards and committees really isn't that much different when it comes down to it. You've got members who are working towards the good of the association in a specific area. We are involved very much so with the executive office liaisons and the number of meetings that we have during the year is, it fluctuates, but pretty consistent. We have similar reports that are due at different times of the year and that type of stuff. So it's really the sort of the ultimate responsibility where it falls between the executive office and the advisory board or the committee. But the actual workload, I don't think seems to differ between those. If hopefully I answered that question for the individual who asked that.
Okay. Another person asks, at your own institution, and possibly because of involvement with NACADA by you and your colleagues, would you say that academic advising has become more of a priority on your campus? Erin, can you take that, please?
I can try. Well, I would say yes and no. So I think campuses are full of people with many varying commitments to many different causes. But I do know that because of the work in the past 10 years, one of just the association in general, but our involvement as NACADA members on my campus, that these things have come back up, right? There is more of a recognition that this work is key to retention, which is, the huge thing right now, and always, but really it's a big word right now in higher ed. But again, like I said, we've had the ability to bring back some of the advising awards, some committees that have gotten together. We've even tried to do some small impromptu stuff. I think Ryan Shekel was on the call I saw earlier. He's, put together some stuff. I think the more individuals you can get involved. So Texas Tech has good involvement, but there could be more of us. So I think the more people you can get involved on your campus, really putting those events out there, the webinars, getting people names on these activities, I believe that could push it even more. But yes, it's slow moving like everything else in higher ed, but there's definitely been a shift to kind of refocus some energy in that area.
Great. Would any other panelists like to address that question?
Can go for quick. I think definitely when you're connected with NACADA, as I think Aaron said it earlier, the recognition. So when you take on the leadership roles, the letters that come to your president, to your boss, vice president of academic affairs, they see this and they're like, okay, this organization is recognizing, sending out personalized letters. What's going on? I think it does help to start conversation. And then what you do is then you start bringing in more and more people and you get them connected. For us at the University of Southern Maine, what was great was in our Region 1, we were able to host the Region 1 in our own city. And from that and having the multiple conversations, we were able to have 20 faculty members attend the regional conference this last year. And just from that, they've already started to have those conversations and want to get more involved. So having that connection and just constantly repeating NACADA, and being able to showcase best practices, it does help. But as Aaron was saying, it could take time because of depending on who the players are.
Thank you. This next question, this is one that I wondered early on before I came into leadership. What expenses to the individual or the institution might be expected when becoming involved in NACADA outside of membership and conference attendance? Who'd like to take that one?
I mean, I can contribute, I guess. I would say outside of personnel costs, there's not much beyond those two things. Definitely your cost getting to conferences, or in some cases, if you're on the council, getting to some of those meetings. But actually, in all these various roles, there's some level that you get to if you're required to be at certain meetings that the expenses are actually covered by NACADA. So I think it's just your time, the cost of your time. And so again, like Michelle said, depending on how much of that you are able to do within your job at your institution and how much of that you're taking home, I haven't, at least for me, I haven't seen a cost other than those two things.
Okay. This person would like to know, what suggestions do you have about getting involved if interested in multiple areas of NACADA?
I can tackle that one. Do it. Just get involved, because if you're not really sure if you have a particular area, or you're still kind of trying to figure out what your area is, just get involved. Find ways to do it. You're going to learn pretty quickly where you might have to rein yourself in a little bit, and you will have support to do that. Because, again, it's a volunteer association. So as much as you're going to put in to it is, what's going to be coming out of it too. So you don't want to overextend yourself. But if you truly are not sure what particular area or areas you want to get involved in, start to explore those now. If you plan on being in this field for a while, you're going to have a lot of chances to get involved. And so now's the time to explore. And then as you really start to find your niche, that's when you can really start to step up into roles like being a chair, leading groups and being sort of the face of the association for that particular area as you delve a little bit deeper into that particular area. But don't shy away. Start to explore now.
Great. Well, it looks like we've answered all the audience's questions. Thank you, audience, for your participation in today's webinar. And also, I'd like to thank our webinar panelists. Audience, on the screen, you will see the contact information of today's panelists if you'd like to follow up with additional questions. On behalf of the NACADA Board of Directors, thanks to all who participated in the 2016 Summer Leaders Webinar Series. The board hopes to see many of you at the annual conference in Atlanta next month.
Thank you, everyone. Again, this is Jennifer Jocelyn, the Executive Office. We would like to thank all the panelists who've done a terrific job, and thank you to all participants. and for your especially for your terrific questions. Very, very helpful. Special shout out to Janet Spence, who not only moderated this panel, but is actually the board member who coordinated with other board members to arrange this entire 4-series summer webinar. So thank you so very much to Janet and her extra hard work on this summer-long project. We are now going to slowly but surely ask you to exit the room. We hope that you have gotten some great information. We also hope that you'll follow up with a team of people or with others on your office who might have questions or who themselves are involved in NACADA. And please let us know if there's any follow-up information we can provide. And the contact information, as Janet says, is there on the screen if you have specific questions of our panelists. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to Lee. Thank you to Gary and everybody here at the Mothership. And thank you all.